Today is October 22nd, 2024 at 5:15. We're in the Tom Baker meeting room to conduct the City Commission meeting. As always, we invite a member of the Bismarck Police Department Crisis Chaplaincy Team. Pastor Paul Herr is here to lead the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Would you pray with me? Almighty God, I come before you on behalf of my city and our commission, asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as this meeting begins. Help each of us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as citizens of Bismarck, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Almighty God, as we make decisions that will affect all who live in our community. Your word tells us in the Proverbs that where there is no guidance, the people fall. But in abundance of counselors, there is victory. Heavenly Father, we need your guidance, and we need one another. May we never forget who you are, our God, our Creator, our Sustainer, our Guide. And may we never forget our need for one another as a community of citizens. Thank you for our leaders and our protectors. I ask you grant peace and safety over our first responders who offer themselves to care for each of us as well as caring for our city. May you be reverenced and honored by what is discussed, deliberated, and decided here today. In the name of Jesus Christ, your Son, our Savior, I pray these things. Amen. Stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, please call the roll.
Commissioner Risch?
Here.
Commissioner Zenker?
Here.
Commissioner Connolly?
Here.
Mayor Schmitz?
Here.
Commissioner Clary?
Here. All right, first up is public comment. This is a chance for anyone to speak to any of the items on the regular consent agenda, excluding public hearings. If you do, please sign in at the podium. Second call for public comment. And third and final call for public comment. Hearing and seeing none, the public comment time is closed. Item 2, consider approval of the consent agenda. What are the commission's wishes?
Move to approve. Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve consent agenda. Any further discussion?
Over here. Clear.
Yes.
I have one question for Steve, if he could come up on item J6.
Sure.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So I read it. I don't have a problem with the trial in doing something different. But if it doesn't work out, I don't want you to be hamstring and say, hey, we got to do it all winter. So what's the...
That was not the intent. The intent was to try it. If it works, continue. If it doesn't work, discontinue.
Discontinue? Perfect. That'll work. Thank you, sir.
Fair enough. Any other discussion? All right. Hearing and seeing none, go ahead and call roll.
Commissioner Zenker?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Chair Clary?
Yes. We're now on to the regular agenda. Item 3A, consider the request to receive a report from the Downtown Community Foundation relating the economic development services provided by the organization. Kate.
Good evening, Chair Cleary, Mayor Schmitz, and Commissioners. My name is Kate Herzog. I'm the president of the Downtown Bismarck Community Foundation. And I think everything is right. Yep, ready to go. Sorry, Whitney. Perfect. Well, thank you guys for letting us be here today. October 8th, when the chamber was presenting, I was in Atlanta for a conference, so thanks for accommodating that schedule. As everybody knows, we're here to present our quarterly update, as did the chamber at the last meeting. With me is Dr. Carl Sovak. He is the dean of the Gary Thoroldson School of Business at the University of Mary. He's part of our council board. He said he's here for moral support as well. But if you have any questions for him, you certainly can ask. Tonight, we are going to go through a few things. So obviously, we answered the RFP, the Downtown Bismarck Community Foundation for Economic Development Services. These are really the three main things on the menu tonight. These are the three pieces that you all put in the RFP, and then we're going to talk about a few things that are coming up the rest of 2024 and then in 2025. So the meat of the meal, I think, and this is an awesome thing that we can report. When we were here last time, we were about a month into a new program that we had launched with the City of Bismarck and some lenders called the Neighborhood Reinvestment Initiatives. And really what this did was it targeted houses that had a maximum value of $250,000, that they were owner-occupied. They could receive low-interest loans from the lenders that we were working with, who would lower that interest rate to make improvements to their home, improvements that also increase the value of the home. So it wasn't paint and carpet. It would be things like a roof, HVAC systems, things like that. So when I spoke with you last, we had just launched it. We were about 3 weeks in. Happy to report that as of October 16th, we've had $873,000 in applications forwarded to the two banks that have committed to that low interest rate for 2024. So I thought that was great. It was a great trial for the City of Bismarck for 2024. I want to thank the Planning Department and Lauren, especially Lauren Oster, for helping us with that program, and I think it's been a great partnership. We had two banks that put in loan capacity at the reduced rates, Capital Credit Union and Gate City Bank. Gate City does this in a number of communities in North Dakota, but Bismarck's actually the first community that has added another lender to this program. And we have it open to all lenders. Anybody can participate as long as they meet the criteria of the program. So go ahead. Oh, sorry. Questions already. All right, here we go.
Madam Chairman, Kate, how many homes were involved? I see the total number there. I'm just wondering.
Yeah. Let's see. I think we had 19 total homes. Let me go to the next slide here. I put a little bit of information about the average application. So we had the average valuation of the home was about $209,000. We at the Downtowners then targeted what we figured would be kind of the oldest homes in Bismarck, and generally those are zoned downtown fringe, downtown core, and R10 zoning. So we sent out postcards to some of those folks that we thought would meet the criteria. Let's see, we had 12 that were zoned R10, 5 that were zoned R5, and 2 that were zoned RM30 that were forwarded on to the banks. Average value was $209,000. One thing that Lauren did point out was prior to launching this program with the city, we talked about the guidelines. What should the maximum valuation be? We had talked maybe $275,000, $250,000. We had settled on $250,000. We had quite a few folks that were about $265,000. So I think for the next year, it would be nice to increase that maximum value to $275,000. We had some folks kind of in the donut a little bit. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Rich? So we are going to meet with staff, Daniel and Lauren and folks, and go over next year's program. This is something we can do every year with the lenders if they want to put loan capacity in at a lower interest rate to help folks improve their homes. So we're going to secure commitments for 2025 from lenders. Again, it's open to any lender. And I think Capital Credit Union may go over to Mandan and do this there too. So we've started a good trend, I think, in getting more lenders into a program like this. Capital Credit Union also said they'd like to extend beyond the October 31st deadline this year if possible. So I've sent an email to the Planning Department. Not sure if that's possible, but they want to keep going with it and can make some decisions pretty quickly, which is great. Another thing in the RFP, and one of the goals was to get the Renaissance Zone reinstated, that when I met with you last time, we were on kind of a one-year reinstatement with the political subdivisions. Happy to report that we now have completed the 5-year reinstatement with all the political subs, as well as the updated development plan And Commissioner Zenker holds that portfolio. So that's great. We have kind of now 5 years of our Renaissance Zone program. It's changed a little bit with updated development plan, but it's happy to get that over the finish line, which has been great. The Renaissance Zone Authority also offered representation to all the political subs to sit on the Renaissance Zone Authority. As you might remember, County Commissioner Munson sits on that authority, but starting in January, there can be a parks representative and a school board representative and a county representative. One thing we did talk about when we were going through the Renaissance Zone reinstatement and updated development plan was really the biggest change to the plan was the rehab project guidelines. That has affected a couple projects just in terms of the scale of the project that they could financially afford. But generally, we've been really happy with this. Just pointing out the last project that was approved. This is a house that's on 2nd Street that was mostly has a roof, I would say. And now you'll see the picture below, which was approved by the Renaissance Zone Authority at their last meeting that they had project. So that's been great. One other thing that we were tasked with doing for the City of Bismarck in the RFP was creating financing programs or providing staff assistance on the Vision Fund requests. If you might remember, kind of towards the end of 2023, we had some requests. The city had some requests come in that maybe didn't quite fit the Vision Fund criteria, so we worked with those folks at the Vision Fund as well as the Chamber EDC on updating the rubric that allows folks to apply, and didn't have a lot of money in that fund, so we needed to be a little bit particular. So one thing we decided to do in 2024, Dimitri Cherniak, myself, and Chad Johnson from First International Bank and Trust sit on the North Dakota Opportunity Fund Loan Board. And it is a blast if you're wondering, but they actually will provide the community match for the Flex PACE program, which is something that we had gotten some applications into the Vision Fund for. And trying to conserve what money there is in the Vision Fund, having another partner be able to commit that community match has been fantastic. So we brought Matt Bertholt from the Lewis and Clark Development Group, who manages the North Dakota Opportunity Fund, for us and the consortium of communities that are a part of that. So we mostly now those Flex PACE match, community match financing applications are going to North Dakota Opportunity Fund so we can conserve what's in the Vision Fund, maybe for PACE loans or other things. There's about $750,000 left for relending in early October, but that is a revolving loan fund and replenishes itself. You know what? Let me go back. I just want to give you a couple items on that. They dispersed $3 million in loans in a not quite a year's period from North Dakota Opportunity Fund. 8 of those loans were in Bismarck. 9th is pending right now. The majority of those loans were Flex PACE community match programs for just a couple loans that we approved: trucking and logistics, real estate, daycare, medical services, and professional services within the city. So they're able to access that low-interest loan program now. Another thing that we were tasked with from the City of Bismarck, talent recruitment, workforce retention. I think you heard Brenda from the Chamber EDC talk about new Americans and welcoming folks to our community. This is something that we've been doing at the Downtowners as well. We hold a quarterly multicultural welcome event. Our September one was on the riverboat. We filled the riverboat to capacity. I was a little nervous. I actually forgot to turn off the RSVP thing, and once we hit 105, I was like, we're going to hit the weight limit on this bad boy, but it was fine. It was fun. We had, obviously, ourselves and some of the other sponsors was the Fort Abraham Lincoln Foundation, the Northern Plains Heritage Area, the state of North Dakota, the city, and I will get to that in a second, some local groups as well as the Adult Learning Center. 105 attendees, 12 languages spoken. Good time was had by all. Heather May, who I don't know if she's been to the commission or she's going to come talk to the commission shortly, is the City of Bismarck's new community integration facilitator. And she was there, was able to meet some of these folks. You'll see Holly Triska with the state. She's one of the resource providers in the top middle. And then Heather's off to the right. We didn't lose anybody. Nobody fell overboard. It was a fun time. We've got one coming up November 8th again, which will be great at the Heritage Center. Another thing, and maybe I didn't do a great job in talking about how this program works, but hopefully this will give you guys a good idea of how we can use Placer, which is our kind of location-based licensing software that we've purchased to help the city. So we did conduct placer AI overviews with the planning department, engineering department, the event center, and the airport staff. And then the airport requested if we could kind of dive further into looking at where customers were coming from that were going to the Bismarck Airport Terminal and where customers were coming from going to the Fargo Airport Terminal. And essentially, we were trying to find out, are a lot of people driving from our sort of Bismarck Airport region to get on a flight in Fargo, drive to Fargo to take a plane out of here. So what we were able to do is pull, this first is a trade area analysis, and we've got a bunch of information that we sent the airport, but I'll just give you a big, quick overview. First, we pulled the trade area, but then we were able to pull the visitors by origin. So here you can see, and I just used the terminal building, literally the footprint of the terminal building, so you're not getting other sort of airport property, but not maybe passenger terminal. So you can see here where the Bismarck Airport is pulling people from. These are all the zip codes and counties of people that make their way to the Bismarck Airport Terminal. A lot of, western and central North Dakota. We pulled the Fargo Airport Terminal, and there really isn't a lot of leakage from kind of Bismarck to the Fargo area. As you can see, Fargo is really pulling from kind of between Jamestown and Detroit Lakes. And so we were able to pull all of the zip codes, all of the numbers of folks, which zip code they originated from, and then which airport terminal they were going to, and package that for the Bismarck Airport. So looking forward to having that Nashville route. I know Greg's back there, and that could be great. So if anyone has questions on that, I can send the full report, but certain things like that we certainly can do for the city of Bismarck. The Chamber EDC also just mentioned some of the representation and partnerships that we work on with the city of Bismarck. Obviously, I mentioned that we're on the North Dakota Opportunity Fund Loan Board. We give a monthly update to the Bismarck Parking Authority. We give a monthly update to the Renaissance Zone Authority. We are currently sitting on the Consultant Selection Committee for the Bismarck Event Center RFP. We are on the steering committee for the Bismarck Land Development Code, which I like, and it's nerdy, but in a good way. We have good partnership with the engineering department, especially downtown during our construction this year on 3rd Street in Rosser. We're able to go to those construction meetings, let our property and business owners know the timelines for certain things, and then supported that urban grant program through DOT that offsets some of the dollars for that project. Dawn in our office is on the Forestry Advisory Board. I'm on the Forestry Advisory Board in another capacity. And Dawn is also part of your Arts and Culture Plan group. Community input, we worked, this was part of the RFP again, getting community input. We assisted city departments in a number of community engagement things this quarter. The biggest thing being inviting the consultants that you all hired for the Land Development Code update and the Arts and Culture Plan to the street fair. And so you can see here some stuff that they had done with the community at the street fair. It's usually called Dotocracy, but people can give their opinion while eating a corn dog. You get a great swath of the community members here in Bismarck. And then we, as Commissioner Zenker was just talking about, were able to survey our business and property owners on Main Avenue about maybe a new plowing strategy for Main. And so we were able to get that information to Steve. Here's just some pictures of your consultants that you hired, putting them out to work, getting some public input. You see Scott Harmstead throwing some Dots pretzels at people to encourage them to come talk to him about land development code updates, which was great. Coming up in 2024, the rest of 2024, we have our next November 8th, our multicultural event at the Heritage Center. We'll be soliciting the banks for loan capacity for NRI for 2025. We are going to meet with the planning department and go over the guidelines for 2025, maybe some things we learned from our first year and some tweaks and suggestions there. We will continue to be a part of the interviews for the event center consultant. As a part of that, we've talked with the city and a few other stakeholders that we'll be able to pull certain reports for those stakeholders from the stakeholder group to the consultancy folks for the event center. So as soon as we know who those people are, they're going to want a lot of data about who's using the facility, how long they're there, where they come from. So hopefully we'll be able to pull some good information for them to make good decisions. We're working with the planning department to start the update of the urban renewal plan that we need to have on file with the state of North Dakota. And Carl, who is providing fantastic moral support behind me, is going to be here next time giving you an update on a cool thing I think that we're going to be pitching to you all in the last quarter update for us. And that's all I got. That's a lot of information, but I'm certainly happy to provide additional information if you need it from any of those topics. It's quick and dirty, but hopefully that you get the gist. Any questions?
Doesn't look like it. Thanks,
Okay,
Kate.
thank you.
All right, moving on to item B is a public hearing on the request for a taxi cab license for Silver Stream Transportation LLC. At this time, it's time for a public hearing on the request. Does anyone wish to speak on the request? So we're opening the public hearing. Second call for public hearing. Third and final call for the public hearing. Public hearing for the request is now closed. What are the wishes of the commission?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the request for taxi cab license for Silver Stream Transportation LLC. Is there any discussion? All right, go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zenker?
Yes.
Chair Cleary?
Yes. All right, item C is a public hearing on request for a new F2 restaurant beer and wine only license for Bourgeois Ventures LLC doing business as Taco Del Mar at 1024 South 12th Street. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. If there's anyone who wishes to speak on this request. Second call for public hearing. Third and final call for public hearing. At this time, the request, or the public hearing is for request for the F2 liquor license is now closed. What are the wishes of the commission?
I move we approve as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. Go ahead and call the roll.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zenker?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Chair Cleary?
Yes, motion passes. Item D is a public hearing for the major subdivision final plat and zoning map amendment for Landsberger Second Subdivision. And Ben, you're going to present for us?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. There we go. Yeah, Marlene Landsberger and family are requesting a zoning map amendment for the A Agricultural Zoning District to the RR Residential Zoning District as outlined in Ordinance 6592 in your packets, including a major subdivision final plat. I'll try to circle something on the screen here if I can with my cursor. Here's the project, basically an aerial photograph of where the project is located. You'll see this sort of elongated shape here. Originally, that was what we call a major street plan amendment that was tied to this application. However, and I'll explain in a little bit more detail later, that piece of the application has been removed. So it's essentially just the zoning map change and the major subdivision final plat. The property is located in is located northeast of Bismarck, adjacent to the east side of 52nd Street Northeast, and generally between 57th Avenue and 71st Avenues Northeast. Project area is comprised of 5.38 acres and proposes one lot in one block. The future land use with the proposal is urban reserve, and the existing zoning is RR residential. The requested action would allow the applicant to facilitate the sale of the property for future development. The Planning and Zoning Commission did consider this request at the September 25th meeting of this year. 2 members of the public did speak in opposition of the proposal, but specifically related to the major street plan amendment originally associated with the proposal. And at the conclusion of the public hearing, and based on the findings contained in the staff report, the Planning and Zoning Commission opted to deny the major street plan amendment, but did recommend approval of the zoning map amendment from the A agricultural zoning district to the RR residential zoning district, as outlined in Ordinance 6592, as well as the major subdivision final plat. Planning and Zoning Commission did provide some further direction to staff to re-advertise and re-notice the adjoining property owners for the major street plan amendment and to have that item considered as a standalone item at a future Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So that action is currently underway now and will be at the consideration stage at actually tomorrow's Planning and Zoning meeting. Is there any questions that I can help address from anybody on the commission?
Doesn't look like it, Ben.
Okay.
All right, we will go ahead and open the public hearing on the request for the major subdivision final plat zoning map amendment for Landsberger second subdivision.
Thank you, Chair Cleary. Landon Nyman of Swinson Hague Engineering, representing the Landsbergers on this property. Yeah, just as has been mentioned before, we were just asking for the zoning change and the subdivision plat tonight. The change in the roadway master plan will be a separate issue from this, but I'm here if you have any questions.
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, thank you.
Second call for public hearing. Third and final call for public hearing. Public hearing is closed. What are the wishes of the commission?
Move to approve. Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the request. Is there any further discussion?
This is Mayor Schmitz. I just want to make a comment because I was part of, obviously, the decision at Planning and Zoning related to the road portion of this. And there was significant concern over where that road was potentially going to land and how it affected various property owners, which is why we asked Planning and Zoning to proceed without the major road portion. So this is what we unanimously approved, I believe it was, at that point in time.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any other discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zinker?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Chair Cleary?
Yes. Item E is a public hearing to release a portion of the platted landscape buffer easement on Lot 1, Block 1, Misty Waters second replat. Lauren.
Good evening, Chair Cleary, Mayor and Commissioners. Misty Waters LLC and Logan Thompson are requesting approval to release a portion of the current landscape buffer easement on Lot 1, Block 1, Misty Waters second replat. I will note that this request will not release any portion of the access and drainage easement that runs along the northern portion of the plat. You can kind of see it on the screen here. The property is located northwest of Bismarck, west of River Road, west of the north-south portion of Burnt Creek Loop, and south of Tranquil Circle. The easement was originally granted with the plat of Misty Waters in 2005 and was rededicated with the plat of Misty Waters second replat in 2023. The project area is a planned unit development. This planned unit development allows self-storage uses on this Lot 1, which would be considered an industrial use and would typically require a buffer easement adjacent to lower intensity uses like the residential uses to the north. By city policy, release of any easements other than franchise utility easements requires a public hearing with the City Commission. Owners of directly adjacent properties, however, have been notified of this public hearing. Staff have received no public comments for this request. As a result of all findings contained in the staff report, City of Bismarck staff find that the release of the portion of the landscape buffer easement would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare, and is consistent with the comprehensive plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and relevant state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval to release this 14 by 20 portion of the current landscape buffer easement over lots 1, block 1, Misty Water second replat. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
Doesn't look like it. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing on the request for the release of the portion of platted landscape buffer easement on Lot 1, Block 1, Misty Waters, second replat. First call for public hearing.
My name is Logan Thompson. Whoops. I own the lot straight north of there. I was also, we're purchasing the first unit there, and we're going to tie it to our driveway was the idea. I was also hoping we had the Prairie View redrop the landscape on the side of it a little bit. So far in the 3 heavy rains that we've had, while the project's being developed, we've had quite a bit of sediment washing down into the parking lot to the west. So what I would like to do is make a bigger grass area. Right now it's set up for mulch or smaller rock in there, along with quite a bit of trees in the buffer easement there. I'm not touching anything, or I don't want to touch anything that runs north and south on the east side, just the stuff that parallels my property. We'd like to do some trees, some rocks, and some riprap in there to slow the water down and hopefully avoid some of the erosion that's going out into the parking lot. I know if they do wood mulch or anything like that in there, chances are every time you get a hard rain with the downspouts and the roof line that you're going to get erosion out into that parking lot. Plus it's, when they shrink it out, they have it right now clear out to the property line with the buffer, which means they're going to have mulch and whatnot right up to my line. So every time I mow, no matter how I would do it, I would end up blowing grass into those rock beds on my property and onto that one, which would just, cause weeds and everything else. So I was just hoping to slide it back. I did bring drawings if anybody wants to see them, what they did. As far as, people seeing it, the only people that are going to see this portion of it are people that come down my driveway. I have a flag lot, so it's like 358 feet from Tranquil Circle to the end of my driveway, and then another 20 feet from there before that buffer easement would start. So really the only people that are going to be looking at it would be myself, and I'd rather have it looking more like what is consistent around my home. That's it. Any questions?
Commissioner
Madam
Risch?
Chair, so I'm looking at the photograph here at the bottom. So the 280 square foot is the barren area?
Yes, you see that 14 foot right there that's kind of in darker gray, just straight off of that first unit.
Yeah.
That would be the driveway. That's what they have on for the release. I'm just trying to cover a couple other bases while I'm here on the landscaping portion as well. Does that make sense?
Just to follow, well, who owns the 280 square feet?
So I own part of it is on my easement that's attached to my lot, and then Steve McCormick and the people that are doing the development. And Steve has already came down and signed a release for this 14 by 20 foot section.
Go ahead.
I mean, us as a city commission, we don't own it. We allow the easement to expire, whatever the case may be. If you and Steve McCormick agree, can't you just go ahead and do what you plan on doing?
That would make the most sense to me. I'm just trying to, you know, it sounds like when I started asking questions, because I do work as a contractor in town, I don't want to step on any toes. So this was, when I started asking questions, I ended up here.
Ben?
Yeah, no, just to address some of your questions, Commissioner Risch. So the item before you today really is only to consider the release of that small portion of the easement for the driveway to go through. The other items that Mr. Thompson is referencing is basically the additional landscape buffer that's associated with the planned unit development. And there is actually another process that needs to be gone through to amend that planned unit development. And if Mr. Thompson is interested in pursuing that, we'd be happy to work through that process with him. But tonight, really, you're only considering the release of that landscape easement to allow that driveway in there.
So we can't just add to
Correct.
it.
That's correct, yes.
This is a public hearing, or,
Oh,
go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. I'll ask a question
Okay,
after.
second call for public hearing. Third and final call for public hearing. And now the public hearing is closed. And Commissioner Zenker.
Madam Chair, Ben, can you come up, explain that process that he's going to have to go through to do that? Because I'm kind of with Commissioner Risch on this. I mean, if it's worked out, it's in the PUD, and it matches the other surrounding area of landscaping, why?
Yeah, so
Why do we have to add
sorry.
roadblocks? I'm sorry, yeah.
And it's, I guess I'd call it more the process to work through than a roadblock, but essentially to amend a planned unit development. So it's specifically defined in the PUD that this landscape buffer exists. So there's a process. If they want to remove that landscape buffer, they can do that. But it's like changing, it's similar to going through a process of changing the zoning ordinance, only it doesn't have to go to Planning Commission. It basically takes place it doesn't go to City Commission, it only takes place at Planning and Zoning Commission. So there is a process to remove that requirement in the planned unit development, which is a specifically designated zoning designation that calls out the requirement for that landscape buffer. And so that, does that answer your question, Commissioner Zenker?
Yes, Ben, it does to an extent, but wouldn't it, I mean, if he's already foreseeing a problem, if there's issues that are happening and he's just going to enhance the landscaping to make it more practical, I guess is the word I'm thinking of, wouldn't that just be, I mean, if him and the landowner next to him,
Yeah,
you know me and red tape, dude, I just don't.
You know, I get it, Madam Chair and Commissioner Zenker. So if that is the case, that would seem to be justification to remove that landscape buffer, adding justification to it. But nonetheless, it's documented in the ordinance, and so there's a process to remove that landscape buffer language from the ordinance.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Ben, just, Mayor, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if this is a question to Ben or if it's a question to Mr. Thompson. It sounds like they want landscaping in there, so I'm kind of questioning why the buffer goes away. It more sounds like he wants to enhance the buffer. Am I missing something?
Maybe Mr. Thompson could speak to it. It's my understanding, just in talking to staff, that there was interest in reducing the amount of landscaping, but perhaps he can clarify, or perhaps I've misinterpreted my discussion with staff.
So the amount of plants and trees that have to go in to make up that buffer is my understanding that it just basically would take up the entire 20 feet to get it in there. Originally, if you look at that little plan, I know you guys that I gave you, the one that runs north and south along the edge, if you see all the trees and whatnot that are in there, that's what was originally set up to go all the way down that side of my property. And when they came to me with everything, I just assumed, hey, Prairie View's doing it, it's going to look good. But then once I actually seen where the line was going to be and how tough it would be to mow, and then watching some of the erosion that was going on with it just something I would like addressed as well right away before they get too far into the weeds with it. So That's all. I just think it's the amount of material, if that answers your question.
I think so. Commissioner
Madam Chair,
Zenker.
so what's got to, Ben, what's got to be in that buffer zone? Is it specific to grass? I mean, or trees? Because they already's got trees in here, and if they add a little bit of riprap, like Mr. Thompson alluded to, I mean, for drainage, I mean, it's going to, here's the deal. This is how I see this working. If he doesn't do anything, in the future, he's going to have to do something. So he's going to rip out the grass and put the gravel in anyway. So let's just figure out a way to save him a step.
Yeah, and thanks for that question, Commissioner Zenker. So there is specific densities and certain types of plant material that are required by the ordinance to screen that use from the adjacent use. And I think our now assistant city administrator and still doing some of his duties as city forester has been out to the site, but I suspect Mr. Wiles and myself would be happy to go out to the site again to take a look at it. But to answer your initial question, there is by definition in the ordinance a certain density of planting materials that have to go within that buffer, and I think that is what is in question of reducing that density of planting materials, at least from Mr. Thompson's perspective.
So, Ben, just so I'm understanding this correctly, if we move forward with the release of this easement, but then he could just immediately move forward to, it sounds like both parties agree that that buffer should be changed as well or lessened, so they could start that process immediately, right?
Madam Chair, I would agree that they could start that process.
And it just has to go to planning and zoning?
Correct.
Okay.
Move to approve is presented.
Second.
With one further discussion point that we make a trip out there and make that as painless as possible for that gentleman.
Any other discussion? All right, with no other discussion, go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Zenker?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Chair Clary?
Yes. Item F, public hearing on ordinance 6590, a zoning map amendment for parts of Riverview Edition and Mackenzie Edition. Ben, is this you again?
That's me again. Yeah, I'm still here. The Diocese of Bismarck and St. Mary's Sisters are requesting a zoning map amendment from the R5 residential zoning district to a planned unit development as outlined in Ordinance 6590. The property is located in west central Bismarck along the east side of Raymond Street and between West Avenue A and West Rosser Avenue. The project area is comprised of 29,235 square feet on currently 5 parcels within 2 different blocks. Future land use associated with the proposal is urban neighborhood and existing zoning is R5 residential. The requested action the requested action would allow the development of 2 convent buildings in 2 phases and demolition of existing dwellings on the various lots in question. The convent space would include residential space as well as classroom spaces for the sisters living within the convent. The Planning and Zoning Commission did consider this request at the September 25th meeting. The applicant and 1 member of the public spoke in favor of the application. Additionally, 4 written forms of testimony were provided, with 3 generally in favor of the proposal and 1 noting possible concerns of the loss of affordable housing in the neighborhood. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the request. Happy to address any questions any of you may have.
Any questions for Ben right away?
Before we move on, Madam Chair, I just noticed who's the contractor on this, and the firm that I work for does work for him, so I'm going to recuse myself from that.
Appreciate
I apologize for not noticing that sooner.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions for Ben before we jump into the public hearing? Commissioner Risch.
Hey, Madam Chair, Ben. So, looks like a great project. Don't get me wrong, it'll be an add to the neighborhood. but the existing houses they're tearing down are currently paying property taxes, and this property would be tax exempt, is that correct?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Risch, so I believe one of the houses may have already been demolished. So I think there's at least 2 homes that I'm aware of that may currently be paying property taxes. One I do not believe is I think it is being used in a tax exempt way by the diocese.
So the properties that exist on the project area, they're already owned by the diocese, correct?
All 5 of the, yes, Madam Chair, all 5 of the parcels in question are owned by the diocese.
So-
They may not be used all for tax exempt purposes at this point, however.
But this project would be
This
tax
project
exempt.
would be, correct.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Okay. I think we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. At this time, it is public hearing on the request for ordinance 6590 zoning map amendment.
I just had one quick question. If these buildings were in the Cathedral District? What you ask?
If you'd like, Madam Chair, I can answer that now. So that's a great question. Actually, the Cathedral District, these are outside of the Cathedral District boundaries, so that they're not within the historically designated Cathedral District.
Matt, if you can just state your name for the record, too. I know who you are,
Sorry.
but
My name's Matt Hall, sorry. Yeah, I was just wondering in case of, historical integrity or if other committees had to get involved, so thank you.
second call for public hearing. Third and final call for public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Commission, we have further questions or?
Move to approve as presented.
Second, and with a little bit of discussion, is anybody being displaced from the structures that are being torn down?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Connolly, I actually don't know the vacancy status of the homes that are being removed, so I can't answer that question.
Okay.
Somebody might be able to.
I know the area. I believe one of those may actually be occupied by, I'm not certain who the residents are, but I know they're occupied probably by individuals for the sister will know.
Long story short, so we live in one of them, the one house that's tax exempt, and then the 2 other ones are rented out by the diocese, so they're like college students that they have been informed that their contract will be over come June of next year. So
I was a college student that lived across the street from these houses.
Oh, okay.
So I know the area.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I appreciate that. With the one person talking about loss of affordable housing, there's been other projects to where it displaced people in a way that they didn't have a replacement home. So it's a good clarification to make, especially for such a good cause.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess I will just add for sake of discussion. Thank you for answering our question. I've had a couple of citizens contact me about it. One that I think sent us all information. I don't think that was just sent to me. But that a few people with the concern that this has happened a couple of times. And Ben, I don't know if you can speak to that. But as Commissioner Risch pointed out, it's whether these were now tax exempt. At a certain point, they weren't. At a certain point, they were single family homes that were owned by citizens that were paying property tax. And when purchased by the diocese and used for certain purposes, they come off of that property tax roll. I feel like we've had a lot of discussions on affordable housing and concerns about property tax and how the infill redevelopment plan assists and promotes ways to fill in to help grow property taxes. And so as much as I can appreciate the purpose of the project, I think that we're a little remiss to not even mention the downsides to it, I guess I would just like to add. Understanding that a lot of the exemptions are written into state law. It's a kind of a blanket exemption, not something that we have any control over, and we don't really have the ability to stop tax exempted organizations from buying more properties. But Ben, just all of those single family homes were at some point paying property tax, even if they aren't now, correct?
Thanks for that question, Commissioner Cleary. I can't confirm the total history, but I can confirm at least 2 of those are paying property tax right now. It is conceivable that all 5 of them were at one point, but I
Sure.
don't know the ownership history dating back to the time of construction. Most of those homes being replaced were constructed in the 1920s and 1930 timeframe, so it's likely that is a statement that is true. So,
as a child of the neighborhood, I could concur that they weren't always diocese owned, but I think that it's just a point of reference. I don't know if there's any, I mean, obviously we're dealing with a state law of tax exemption, so whether it's a loss in property tax dollars or not, I just think there's a point to be made there. Commissioner Risch.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just to follow up on that, just today I was reading through the state century code, 13 pages of fine print on what property we cannot tax. One example is the Stockmen's Association built a new building in Bismarck. Great organization. I don't have anything against them, but they're not on the property taxes. So it's a concern. If we want to deal with property taxes, we need as much property on the tax rolls as we can keep on the tax rolls. And I'm not opposed to this this project. It's just a concern I keep hearing as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but again, like that might be more an issue with the state law than an issue with the project. But I mean, I think it's fair to discuss it. So, thanks, Ben. Any further discussion? If not, go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Chair Cleary?
Yes. All right. All right, next is item G, public hearing on ordinance 6591 for the Bismarck Code of Ordinances related to lot coverage in the R5 residential zoning district. Lauren.
Good evening, Chair Cleary, Mayor, and Commissioners. The Community Development Department is requesting approval of Ordinance 6591, which is an amendment to Section 14-04-03 of the Bismarck Code of Ordinances related to lot coverage in the R5 residential zoning district. The proposed amendment would create an administrative approval process to increase the lot coverage in the R5 residential zoning district from a maximum of 30% up to 40%, provided a surface study of the property and vicinity is prepared and submitted for review. The purpose of this amendment is to provide flexibility to property owners while still ensuring that the intent of stormwater management plans of those areas are met. A stakeholder group comprised of members of the development community and city staff met on July 18th of this year to discuss existing development concerns related to lot coverage requirements and to suggest changes within the specific zoning district. The administrative approval process would be eligible for lots in subdivisions that have already had a post-construction stormwater management permit, and this would limit this option to lots where the site's stormwater management has already been reviewed by the city engineer. This administrative approval process would require a surface study indicating and containing at a minimum a narrative explaining the increased lot coverage, a scaled survey of the proposed lot coverage, and an exhibit and analysis of the lot coverage, and drainage path of all other lots in the stormwater subbasin as defined in the post-construction stormwater management permit of the site. Additional off-site or on-site stormwater or drainage easements or an updated and approved post-construction stormwater management permit may be a requirement of approval as determined by the Community Development Director and City Engineer through this administrative approval process. And as part of this approval process, community development staff would also create an administrative process to manage that review as well. All public meeting and notification procedures for this request were met as outlined in the public engagement section of the staff report for this project. You did consider and call for a public hearing at your October 8th meeting for this request. A notice was published in the Bismarck Tribune on October 11th and 18th. The Bismarck Planning and Zoning Commission held a public on this item on September 25th and unanimously recommended approval of it. To my knowledge, staff has not received comments regarding this request. This request was evaluated according to standards contained in the Comprehensive Plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and relevant state law. Amendments to this section of the zoning ordinance have been made regularly in the past for various reasons. Conditions have changed which justify the proposed revision. As a result of all findings contained in the staff report, City of Bismarck staff find that the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare and is consistent with the Comprehensive Plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and relevant state law. Therefore, staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of an amendment to Section 14-04-03 of the Bismarck Code of Ordinances related to lot coverage requirements in the R5 residential zoning district as outlined in Ordinance 6591. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
Any questions for staff? Doesn't look like it.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing on request for Ordinance 6591.
Hi, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Corey Knutson with Knutson Homes. I guess I'm just here just to kind of speak on my behalf as a builder, homeowners that I work with as well. You know, the 30% lot coverage is sometimes difficult to reach. You know, architecture's changed, lot sizes have changed. I feel it's time to pivot, make a change on things. This is a start. I know there's some obstacles, there's some admin work, and it might not work out all the time for everybody, but I think anything to try and give a little latitude to building can be beneficial and helpful. You know, I know we talk about, you know, a little bit more density as a builder, you know, well, cost of everything, dirt homes has gotten more expensive, so there's just one thing that can help with that. Any questions?
Doesn't look like it. Thanks, Corey.
Cool, thanks.
Second call for public hearing. Third and final call for public hearing. Hearing and seeing none, public hearing closes. What are the wishes of the commission?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Well,
Commissioner
Madam
Risch.
Chair, Commissioners, I just think 30% seems really restrictive. So I think this is a meaningful step forward to allow people to build on smaller lots and or bigger homes and things of that nature.
I think too, with speaking to staff, because lot coverage for R5 is 30%, lot coverage for R10 is 40%. So when you're doing a development and then getting it zoned R10 just for the lot coverage, but then only wanting single-family homes, it kind of, changing this, I feel like, eliminates that juggle of zoning. So I think that that'll help that too, so.
Well, and we were just mentioning in the last item, as far as revenue for the city and things, regardless of what that looks like in the future, by adding that density increases values, so.
Sure. With no further discussion, go ahead and call the roll.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zanker?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Chair Clary?
Yes. Next is item H, public hearing for the 2024 special assessment districts and confirm the assessments as amended. Dimitri, is this yours? Okay. All right, we'll go right into the public hearing. First call for public hearing. Second call. Third and final call for public hearing. Seeing none at this time, the public hearing is now closed. What are the wishes of the commission? Questions for staff?
Madam Chair, I just want to confirm the reason why we left this open were some legality issues, and that's all been addressed and covered. Perfect. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? I'll go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zanker?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Chair Clary?
Yes. Consider the request to authorize the issuance and award acceptant bids. Item I. This is Dimitri.
Madam Chair Clary, Commissioners, Mayor, thank you for having me this evening. This is just our annual authorization, because what happens is the construction of the roads and improvements happens the year before, and then the following year the city finances that construction, and the following year we issue the special assessment bonds. This is just a sale of the bond. We use Colliers International to do our sale, and they put it out to the market to obtain the best possible bid for the two bonds. And so I have John Lundby from Colliers International here to present to you the bid results and discussion of any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dimitri. Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Mayor. Pleasure to be with you all again here tonight. Again, I'm John Lundby with Colliers here in Bismarck, and I'm here to present the results of the public sales we conducted this morning. First, for the refunding improvement bonds of 2024 Series T, which is an issue for permanent financing of 7 improvement districts in addition to paying cost of issuance. We're very pleased with morning sales. They went very well with all recent turmoil we've seen in the markets, and thankfully a reduction in rates in the last couple of weeks. The winning bid for the RIB issue was a true interest cost of 3.323% to the city on a 15-year maturity. These bonds are callable in 8 years or 2032. The final par amount of the issue was $12,955,000, as shown in your updated resolution. For this sale, we saw 7 bids from across the country, firms located in New York City, Chicago, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Dallas, and Pittsburgh. It was a strong response from the city, a strong response from the market for the city, and tight competition across those bids, and it just speaks to the strength of Bismarck. The second sale was for the sidewalk, curb, and gutter warrants, the Series SCG 2023, which was permanent financing of 1 district in addition to paying cost of issuance. This being the smaller of the 2 issues, it carries a 10-year maturity. 1 bid was received at time of sale, and the winning bid for that issue resulted in a true interest cost of 3.603%. These bonds are callable in 6 years or 2030, and the final par amount of that issue was $1,905,000, as shown in your updated resolution. I've handed out the credit report from Moody's, rating agency that we had conducted on behalf of these sales. They reaffirmed the city's outstanding rating of AA1, and that is something of which the commission and city staff should be very proud. Onstead Twitchell, as your bond counsel, has prepared the resolutions before you. With your approval tonight, we'll move forward in finalizing all figures, documentation, and conduct closings on November 5th. The resolutions will need separate motions and approvals, but with that, I would like to open it up and ask if there are any questions.
Any questions for John? Doesn't look like it. What are the wishes of the commission? You said you need separate motions for these, right?
Yep, one for the RIB, one for the SCG, correct.
Okay.
I'll move we approve the first one. Wasn't very clear, huh?
Is that good enough for you, Janelle, or do you want him
The
to?
sidewalk one. Okay, then.
I think the resolution, John has the resolution. Perhaps he'll give you the language.
Yeah, so the first one would be the refunding improvement bond series 2023. I'm sorry, 2024, excuse me.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to approve the bonding improvement to 2024, whatever it was.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Zanker?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Chair Cleary?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the curb and gutter warrant series SCG-2023 for the amount stated.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on this one? Go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zanker?
Yes.
Chair Cleary?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. All right, next is item J, consider request to pursue North Dakota Department of Transportation Highway Safety Improvement Program funding. Gabe.
Hello, Mayor and Commissioners, or I should say Madam Chair, Commissioners, Mayor virtually. The item that I have before you is the annual solicitation that we will find from the Department of Transportation, and this particular program is the Highway Safety Improvement Program. This funds safety projects. We've been actually very successful in the past, and even in the program that we have looking ahead in the next couple of years at requesting and then receiving funding for these types of projects from the State Department of Transportation. They have to have a safety flair to them. And the DOT is very responsive of giving their safety dollars. About half of their safety dollars that they get statewide goes back towards the urban cities and counties to address their safety needs. So it might not be on a state highway, it could be on just a city street. So with that, the request that we'll have this year for the program is a roundabout at the intersection of Yagan Road and Lincoln Road. It's been identified in some previous planning studies. And a roundabout is a typical solution that the DOT would be supportive of installing. This intersection is in city limits. It's just on the outskirts of the current corporate boundary. The airport is the property owner in all of these quadrants, and if this project was selected and moved forward, we would be in tight coordination with them to ensure that any improvement constructed at this intersection would not be detrimental to the airport operations in this area. So with that, I'd take any questions that you may have, but my recommendation would be to apply for funding for this Yagan Road and Lincoln Road roundabout intersection improvement.
Any questions for Gabe? Doesn't look like it.
Move to approve is presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. Go ahead and call the roll.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zanker?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Chair Cleary?
Yes, motion passes. Item K, consider the request for approval of becoming a member of the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority Government Partners Program through the Bismarck Mandan MPO and a letter of support for their passenger rail project. Isaac.
Yes, thank you, Chair Cleary. Bit of a mouthful, I know, with this request. But so, Chair Cleary, Mayor and Commissioners, the Community Development Department is requesting 2 items today from the Commission regarding potential future passenger rail service in the Bismarck-Mandan area. That first one being approval of joining the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority's Government Partners Program through the Bismarck-Mandan Metropolitan Planning Organization. More on that in a bit, as well as the second one being approval of a letter of support for their passenger rail project, that them being the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority, their project that is currently in the Federal Railroad Administration's Corridor Identification and Development Program, or Corridor ID for short. So I'll just address a few things that were outlined in the memo and provide some further background and then open it up to any questions you might have on this one. So the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority is a regional rail authority that is a subdivision of the Montana government. They are a collection of 18 counties in Montana, as well as some ex officio members, including various tribal nations, Amtrak, and BNSF. So how that connects to the Corridor ID program, which is a federal program. The Corridor ID is a national passenger rail program that is in the process of expanding and or enhancing existing passenger rail routes, as well as creating and or reinstating new passenger rail routes. So the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority is currently the primary sponsor of a restoration project that would restore the former North Coast Hiawatha passenger rail route that traveled from Chicago to Seattle by way of the Twin Cities, southern North Dakota, and southern Montana. And this would be considered a national network route because it would be about 2,000, a little over 2,000 miles in length. So all of the funding for the actual operations of that would come from the federal government, but in this particular program in the FRA, they need a project sponsor, and the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority is just that primary sponsor right now. But being a route that would go through several states, countless, well, not countless, but many different cities, counties, and all that, they're seeking various support from the entities along the route and trying to collaborate with them. So long as the Big Sky folks continue to meet their relevant deadlines for the Corridor ID program, they will stay in that program and continue to do most of the planning and pre-development work there, but they're in trying to answer how the return of service might look, they want to collaborate more with entities that would be affected by the return of that service. So that's where the Government Partners Program comes in. The Government Partners Program is this program that the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority has created to try collaborate further with any city or county or MPO along the route that would want to join in so that they can help share information such as grant information or best planning practices for their members to just try work as effectively as possible when bringing back this potential passenger rail project. So when it comes down to it, certain things would still be handled by them, but any local decision would be done locally, but they would be able to provide some assistance if possible or requested. So for this particular request, the MPO is able to join the program on behalf of their member jurisdictions, those being Bismarck, Mandan, Lincoln, as well as Burleigh and Morton County. And they would then work as a regional coordinator for this membership in this Government Partners Program, while also serving to efficiently distribute the costs of the membership of that program, so long as 3 of the 5 member jurisdictions vote to join the program. More on that in a moment. So the MPO would cover 80% of the cost to be a part of this program, and that remaining 20% would be split up between the 5 or however many member jurisdictions vote to join, such that the portion for Bismarck's contribution, should you vote to approve that, would be between $720 or $930 on an annual basis, which this is just a one-year request. If it is deemed that it is useful or relevant for the region to stay in the program, we will come back next year and ask a similar request at that time. But right now, just a one-year request, and if all 5 member jurisdictions vote to participate, that lower end of $720 would be the actual cost to the city of Bismarck, and the Community Development Department has sufficient funds to cover that portion of this request. So just a few other notes. I mentioned, at least 3 out of the 5 member jurisdictions need to vote in favor of this for the MPO to continue that step to join the program. As of this meeting right now, Burleigh County, Mandan, and Lincoln have voted to join the program through the MPO, and I believe Morton County is voting tonight as well. Other communities in North Dakota that have joined the Government Partners Program already include Dickinson and Jamestown, and then other North Dakota entities that have voiced some form of support at some point in this process of the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority's efforts include the North Dakota Department of Transportation, North Dakota Department of Commerce, the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber EDC, as well as Senator Hoeven and Governor Burgum. So with all that background information in mind and based off of conversations amongst city staff and with folks from the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority, planning staff recommend approval of joining the Government Partners Program through the MPO, as well as approval of a letter of support for the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority's efforts in the Corridor ID program, and a draft of that letter was included in your packet as well for any discussion. So happy to address any questions the Commission might have at this time.
Any questions, Commissioner Connolly?
When you said it's an extensive explanation, I've listened to it in every meeting. What's explain how they came up to the dollar amount, because the expectations are different, like the county and all of the ones that you mentioned. So how do they get to that outcome?
Sure. So Chair Cleary, Commissioner Connolly, the original form of this program was actually called the Municipal Partners Program, such that it was first offered to cities and counties in Montana. They later expanded it to allow cities, counties outside of Montana to join as well. And it was based off of the population of the community in question, and then whether or not that community was, directly on the path of the rail, or if it was further away from the path of the rail. And so Bismarck was in the highest tier of the potential cost, so that would have been $6,000 per year, a county of a similar population. So Burleigh County would also be in that higher threshold. So in initial conversations with the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority, as we were keeping this in our keeping an eye on it in the background, we asked them if an MPO would be able to join on behalf of their member jurisdictions. They talked amongst themselves and decided that that was, an acceptable thing, and they adjusted the program accordingly. So as of right now, for all of the entities that the MPO has jurisdiction over, it's still a $6,000 total cost per year. 80% of that, so $4,800, is would be covered by the MPO, and they've received the necessary approvals that they would need to make sure that they can use that as a expense. So then that remaining 20%, so $1,200, would be split amongst the 5 jurisdictions based off of their population. And that's how we arrived at the $720 to $930 range for Bismarck specifically. It depends a little bit on how many other of the jurisdictions vote to be a part as well through the MPO.
Any other questions? What are the wishes of the commission?
Well, I'll move we approve as presented, but I'd like to talk about it a bit.
Absolutely.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and discussion.
Well, I think Bismarck needs to get on board this train. This is exciting news. I was working on the railroad when we lost Amtrak the last time. It was the old beat-up equipment. Amtrak came through here daily for a while. Then towards the end, they were cutting costs, and they went to 3 days a week. Of course, nobody can make that work, and nobody can make that work. So this is a whole different prospect. This is twice daily service through Bismarck and Mandan. We can have a Mandan stop, a Bismarck stop, or one or the other. Twice daily service in each direction. Brand new equipment, Wi-Fi, dining cars, sleeping cars. This is over the top, and this would be a great contribution to our community. I like trains. I was a railroad engineer for 30 years. I ran the Empire Builder, and I'm currently a volunteer engineer at the Dakota Zoo. So I think this is good for Bismarck, and I might be a little prejudiced in favor of trains.
I might not be as biased as you, but I do think that it would be really cool to see passenger trains back in Bismarck. So I definitely don't disagree, and I think like the tourism aspect of it could be super beneficial too.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Go ahead, Mayor.
So what this membership will get us is to learn what it is the community needs to do or can maybe get access to for funding to help support the terminal that we'll probably need within the community somewhere, one city or the other. I don't know that they'll stop in both, but they might. But at least we'll know what funding sources might be available and how we can approach getting that terminal established when the service starts to come through.
Right. I think that, at least in my opinion, it would be good for the city to be a part of that discussion. And
historically, they stopped at both Mandan and in Bismarck. And when I was operating Amtrak on the northern route, if you stopped at Minot, that was a crew change point and fueling and all that. That was a long spot. If we stopped at Rugby or Stanley, we maybe stopped for 7 minutes, and you could get change passengers and whatnot. So there is a concern if we have it in Bismarck, you might block a crossing. But if it's for 7 minutes, that's pretty minuscule. You get these 2 mile long trains coming through Bismarck. It takes way more than 7 minutes for one of those to go through at 25 miles an hour. And not to mention, 2 or 3 Tuesdays ago, the train broke into 4 pieces and tied up our whole city for 4 hours. So I think it's really possible that we could get a Bismarck stop and a Mandan stop and make it all work.
yeah. Any other discussion?
If there's a subcommittee, you're on it.
I agree. Okay, go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zenker?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Chair Cleary?
Yes. All right, item L. Consider the request to discuss the garbage collection survey results and determine the direction of residential trash collection and the options for the collection of extra items. Steve, it's been a long time coming for this. Or it feels like it to me, maybe. Maybe not to everybody else.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mayor, Commissioners. It has been a while. So a little bit of background history is, back in February, we had presented to the then commission and some challenges that the landfill operations or primarily the trash collection operations were going to be experiencing in the very near future. At that time, we presented that 5 of the 8 multi-pack trucks have exceeded their useful life and were ready for replacement. We also were notified that the manufacturer of the multi-pack trucks discontinued manufacturing of the multi-pack body, and so we were no longer able to purchase those trucks. To date, we have received 2 replacement trucks, and so we do have those in the fleet, and they are operating most weeks. We are expecting 2 more trucks to be delivered in the January-February timeframe of 2025. And then we expect 2 more to be delivered somewhere at the end of late 25 or early 26. So just for everybody's information, the photo that you have in front of you is a picture of the multi-pack truck. The multi-pack truck has the arm on the front that picks up the cans, typically the 96-gallon residential can. But it also has the open back end, so any extras that are placed beside for collection can be thrown in the back end of this truck. Now, I know there's a lot of misinformation out there on social media that the city ordered the wrong trucks, and that is not the case. The case is the manufacturer does not manufacture this truck. They no longer manufacture it. We reached out to the company, and they verified that yes, we do not manufacture this anymore. They did not indicate if they were planning to bring them back or not, but just for the record, we are unable to purchase this multi-pack body. So with that, the ones that we are able to purchase are the ones that have the side arm only.
Now, just for clarification purposes, we can order the trucks with the sidearm. We can order the trucks with the rear load, but we cannot order the trucks with the sidearm and the rear load. That is the multi-pack that we are talking about. So I just wanted to clarify that. So the photo that you see in front of you now is a picture of the new truck that has the sidearm only. As you can see, there's no way to put in the extra trash easily into this type of a truck. So where we're at today is currently the 2 replacement trucks are shown on the bottom, items number 7 and 8. They were put into service. One was in February and the other one came in April. We have 2 that are scheduled for replacement in the February timeframe. One has 12,900 hours, the other one has 11,800 hours, both scheduled due for replacement. And then we have 2 more scheduled to be arriving at the end of 25, early 26, depending upon the delivery availability from the manufacturers. And then we do have 2 more that would be scheduled maybe late 26, early 27. That is going to be dependent upon the number of hours that they have on at the time will be dependent when we replace those. So in the very near future, we are half of the fleet will not have the multi-pack capability, and then sometime in, most likely then towards the end of 25, 3/4 of the fleet will not have that multi-pack capabilities. So back in February, you had asked that we develop a communication plan and communicate our challenges to the citizens of Bismarck. Kaylin Ost did a great job of doing that. You also asked that we develop a survey, get feedback from the public on the various options moving forward. And that survey was developed, was sent out, and I'm here tonight to present those the results from that survey. So the survey ran from August 9th through September 16th of this fall. We put the information out there to our residents. We put a public release out, a press release out to the public, letting them know that the survey is out there. We also put it out on social media, including Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We put an insert into our monthly utility bill. So when everybody opened up their utility bill, they saw this survey notice and they were able to either there was a QR code on the survey that if they scanned it with their phone, it would take them directly to the survey. There was also a URL address on there that they could type that into their computer and take the survey. We also put it in the noteworthy news on the utility billing, so we tried to identify them that way. And we also placed it on the front page of the city website. And so we tried to capture most people as best we could. In addition, we realized that not every citizen has computer access or a smartphone. So we also allowed them to call into Public Works and request a paper copy of the survey. Those that did, we mailed them out a paper survey. They could fill it out and get it back to us. We received what we believe is a tremendous response. We received 3,000 electronic surveys and 59 paper surveys returned back to us. And so we feel that we got a very representative sample from across the city of what the desires are. So question 1, we asked, what is more important to you? Keeping the costs of garbage collection lower, or being able to place unlimited extra garbage out for weekly collection? 71% responded they wanted to keep the
the cost of the garbage collection lower. Question 2 was, how often do you place extras beside your 96-gallon can for collection? 5% responded that they do that every week. 8% said they do that every other week. 14% said they do it once a month. And 42% responded that they do it every few months. 32% responded that they never put anything out for extras. And then question 3, should folks that place extras beside their 96-gallon can, should they pay more than those that do not? 54% responded, yes, they believe that those that put extras out there should pay more. 46% said that no, everybody should basically pay the same. Question 4 was, when you place extras beside your 96-gallon can, what type of trash is it most often? 17% responded that it's grass. 28% said it was extra household garbage. And 55% said it is bulky items, bulky household items that don't fit in the can. And question 5 asked, how do you primarily dispose of your grass clippings? 34% responded that they mulch them, so there's no need to dispose of them. 49% said they recycle them at the city grass collection dumpsters. 9% said they place them at the curb beside their 96-gallon can. And then 8% responded that they place them inside their 96-gallon can. So then question 6 asked them, if you were given the following choices for garbage collection, which one would you choose? And 10% responded that they wished for us to continue the collection of extras by running a second truck through the community with a second crew to pick up those extras. 5% responded that no longer pick up extras, and that residents could take any extra trash that they have to the landfill and dispose of it on their own. 8% responded that we should no longer collect extras, but residents could purchase a special bag from Public Works for an additional fee. 17% responded that we no longer take extras, but if you needed an extra can, you could get an extra can for a reduced fee. And then 59% responded that implement options B, all of options B, C, and D, which gives everybody the choice.
Steve, can I just stop you real quick because in this presentation, the question or the answers kind of get cut off a little bit, but the survey did a really good job of explaining, like, if you were choosing A, that the price of garbage would go up if you wanted that level of service. In the parts that are cut off on the options, it was very clear if you were choosing which ones you were choosing would keep that level of service, would keep the price same or similar, that some would come at an increase, because obviously running a second team would increase the rate that we have to charge for garbage. So even though they're trimmed off in our presentation, that it was very clear in the survey.
Madam Chair, correct. So for item A, there was a note in the survey that said this option is expected to double the current garbage rates. And then the other ones had a note that this option is expected to keep the garbage rates about where they are at today. And so when you go back to item number 1, which was most important, 71% indicated that they wanted to keep the rates lower. So by choosing this option for option E, it didn't surprise me that because most people wanted to keep the rates a little bit lower. And then question 7, we kind of wanted to get everybody's opinion, is if the city offered to pick up bulky items such as mattresses, couches, or appliances for an additional fee, if they would be interested in utilizing this type of service. And 62% responded that yes, they would be interested in this type of a service. And then 38% indicated that no, they would not. So in summary, 71% of the residents responded that they would want to keep the garbage collection rates lower. 68% said that they have placed extras beside their garbage can for collection at some point in time. 54% said that the people that place extras out for collection should pay more than those that do not. When asked what type of items that they put out for, extra items they put out for collection, 55% responded that it's bulky items that don't fit in the can. 28% was extra household trash, and 17% said it was grass. When asked what they do with their grass, 83% said they either recycle or mulch it. 9% said they place beside their can. 8% said they place it inside the can. And 90% preferred one of the various options where you could either purchase the bag, you could purchase a second can, or you could take the extras to the landfill on your own. So when we say purchase a special bag, what we're talking about is basically just a similar garbage bag like this. This is a 33-gallon bag, which would have the City of Bismarck logo on it, and the bag would be a special color. This is just a sample that they had sent us, and it would probably be most likely some neon color, so we know that it's a special purchase bag. You purchase them probably starting off at Public Works, possibly the City County building. At some point, we would like to try to expand that if we go this route, to see if we could get them into some of the retail areas, the grocery stores, and to make it a little bit more convenient. I don't know if we'll be able to do that or not. That's an option that we'd like to pursue if that is the case. Recommendations on moving forward is, given that the results of the survey, it would be Public Works I'll stop.
Thanks, Madam Chair and Steve. So you showed that little plastic bag there. So, we're not going to, if this goes through, we're not going to run a second truck, or we're going to have a bag next to our 96-gallon garbage can, right? So what are they going to do with that bag?
Madam Chair.
What's the process?
Commissioner Zinker, the process for that is we expect there would be a lot fewer bags. So what the process would be is the truck would come down, they would dump the 96-gallon can. Then the driver would have to get out, put that extra bag in the can, get back in the truck, and then dump that extra bag. So there's an extra process. It's going to take more time, and that's where the extra fee for that would come in. It would be for their time. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why couldn't we do that with everything?
Is it obvious?
Very.
Perfect.
But 55% said of the respondents said the items that they put out there are bulky items that don't fit into the can. Only 28% was household trash. So we anticipate that the only thing that people would use the bag for would be the household trash on those special occasions that they have the extra items that they need to get rid of.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just to elaborate a little bit on it, within our discussions when we were making the survey with Toby and with Jason, it's like, I think when we were trying to give people options, the extra special trash bags are for people who have extras but not super regularly. So they don't want to buy a second can and pay for a second can year round because they have extras once or twice a year when they're cleaning out their home or whatever it might be. And then the additional can is more for the people who have extra trash all the time, where the fee makes sense because they don't want to be always buying those bags. So I think with the survey, it was kind of trying to figure out, do people think we need both options? Is there one version that makes more sense? And it seems like people want us to try all of the options based off the results, which I think would be fine because I feel like the second can is a good fit for some people. The extra bags is a good fit for a different type of consumer. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. There'll be a learning curve to that concept because they're used to having a second person doing that stuff. So,
and the one thing about this is those that don't produce anything extra wouldn't have any extra costs. It's only those that have the extra amount that are out there would incur a little bit of extra cost. It's more kind of along the lines of similar to water rates. If you use more water, you pay a little bit more. Here, if you dispose of more garbage, you pay a little bit more. So it would be this along the same lines. So given that, it would be our recommendation to implement option E to give the residents the option of, if they need the extra can, they could get one at a reduced rate, or they could buy the bag for that occasional time when they have a company home at the holidays. Or if they so choose, they could take it out to the landfill on their own. And so it really gives them those different options. And then the other recommendation would be to implement the special pickup service kind of on a trial basis. We don't know what kind of response we'd have, but a majority of the folks indicated that they would be interested in that. And so we thought we'd try to put together a process to do that. Right now we are looking at kind of a prepay, so if they have something, a bulky item they need picked up, they'd pick up the phone, they'd call in. We would most likely take a credit card over the phone. We would schedule the pickups most likely for Wednesday afternoons. The rest of the days are very full. We don't have the extra staff. Wednesday is a little bit lighter on a collection day, so we feel that Wednesday afternoons is when we could probably spare some people to do this. And so right now we would propose to try it on the Wednesday afternoons on a kind of a trial basis. If it's heavily utilized, then we would know. If it's hardly anybody utilizes the service, then we'd come back and we'd have a discussion. There are challenges.
Commissioner Risch has a question.
Madam Chair, Steve, so if we approve all this tonight, when does it actually take place? We still have some trucks that have the dual-purpose ways in which you're putting garbage in.
Mm-hmm.
Do we wait till the trucks are phased in, or do we start doing it as the trucks come along?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Risch, it would be my recommendation that we would implement this starting in 2025. So I had, January 1, 2025 in my mind, but if there's a different date that you feel would be better to implement it, we're open for that. That's really, I'm here to present and kind of present the option, the findings, and then look for some direction from you on how to move forward. One of the things that we see as challenges is right now some folks do have a second can. Unfortunately, we don't have a real good mechanism of tracking that. So the cans do have a serial number on them, but we do not have the serial number tied back to a particular residence. So we would have to go and try to survey which resident has which serial number can, and we'd have to put that back into our database. That would take us a little bit of time. We do know in the notes which people have the second can, but it's in the notes, and there's no way of kind of thumbing through that and pulling out a query that says, okay, these lists here have 2 cans, the rest of you just have 1. There's not a whole lot out there, but we do know that certain residences currently have 2 cans. Right now, those residences do not pay for that second can. If people put extras beside the can, we just pick it up. So we didn't feel that we could charge them more for the second can, making it more convenient for us just to dump the 2 cans versus going and having someone throw that back into the back of the truck. So those are the reasons why some have 2 cans, but they're not charged for it currently. The billing, there could be some challenges setting that up, indicating who has that second can. It's a change. Can we work through it? I believe we can, but there are going to be a little bit of growing pains in the initial setting everything up, making sure that we're tracking everything accordingly. I think we can overcome that, but there will be some growing pains there. And of course, there is going to be some extra costs associated with purchasing the extra cans. And so with the recommendations that I bring with implementing option E, I also bring to you the option of, if we could get the presentation back up again, a recommendation that if we do implement option E, that we do utilize the 33-gallon can or bags, and that we would sell them for a fee of $2. That would be our recommendation of what we kind of feel would be reasonable to pay for the service, pay for the extra bags. The second can, we believe, probably would be half of the cost of the original can. We're already in the neighborhood. We already picked up the first one. We're going to move 4 feet down. We're going to pick up the second one. It's primarily paying for the disposal of the trash that's in that can is what we're trying to recoup. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, Steve. So you got dollar amounts for everything, but you don't have dollar amounts for the second can. What is that second can charge of here?
Currently, it is I have it as half the cost of the original can, excluding the curbside collection recycling fee.
Right.
Currently, it's $16.66.
That's the current one, so it would be
$8.30.
$8.30.
$8.33 would be the cost for the second one.
For the second can?
Yes. So basically $2 a week. So very similar to how we came up with the cost of the bag. Is if you throw one bag out a week, it would cost you an extra $2. If you have more than that, then you're actually getting a better deal by doing.
But you've got to buy the bag for $2.
Correct.
So you're already paying for it. So Christmas, Thanksgiving, those types of things where you typically see, well, in my neighborhood, I guess you see excessive or extra garbage. I shouldn't say excessive. That's a poor word. Extra garbage. As long as you pay the $2 per bag, you're not going to get another charge on top of that.
Correct.
Right? Okay. Perfect. Thank you, sir.
And you don't have to purchase the bag if you're purchasing the second can, unless both of them are full.
So in
Just-
theory, it's like, say you need 4 extra bags of garbage, one cycle of garbage a year, just for one annual event. You have 4 extra things, and it's like you pay the $8 for the bag instead of paying $8 a month extra for the can that you're not filling up.
Correct.
Versus if you're filling it up all the time, it's probably more effective to pay for the extra can versus buying bags all the time.
Correct.
Okay.
The other thing that I'd like to recommend would be that if someone wants a second can, that we would charge them a one-time fee of $50, which would be a delivery fee for the can. But it also helps offset the cost of that can, because we have to, these cans cost us in the neighborhood of $60 or so in that area. And so it would take quite some time by the time you figure out the disposal and the to recoup the cost of those cans. So we'd like to see a one-time fee of the $50 for the can. And then would also like to see them sign up for, say, a minimum of 1 year, that, I'm going to get the can and then 2 months later, I'll come and pick it up, to kind of curb some of that. So,
and I was doing the math. You don't want us to just call it November 1st and you come and get it February 14th type thing? I mean,
we're trying to avoid that.
Are you? Okay. Perfect.
But ultimately, this is a recommendation on, I have to wear 2 hats. I have to wear a citizen hat, and I wear my public works service operations hat. And I'm trying to balance everything, because I'm also a participant in the program. And so I'm trying to do things as reasonable I can, but this is a business, it's an enterprise fund that has to pay for its own services. So, like I said, I'm wearing 2 hats, and I'm trying to do the best that I can to balance things and keep things as reasonable as we can for the vast majority of the people. And most people, if they don't have the extras, won't see any extra cost. And then the last recommendation that I had was on the special collections. We were looking at a $20 pickup fee plus the cost of the disposal for the item that you're disposing. So we have a fee schedule at the landfill. For a mattress is X, a couch is Y, an appliance, a refrigerator is Z. So it would be a collection fee of the $20 plus the cost of the item that you're disposing of. Now, in driving around the neighborhoods on certain days, we thought we'd limit the $20 pickup fee to 5 items. Anything beyond that, then it would be another collection fee, because we're not here to have someone clean out their entire house. There's companies out there that take care of that. This is more of a convenience, that if you have an item or 2, that we would come and pick it up. And so that would kind of be our recommendation. Now, we will most likely probably lose money on that $20 fee, depending upon how utilized the service is. So if we are driving from the landfill up to Northwest Bismarck for a one item and then driving back, the time it takes to drive there and the time it takes to drive back, we would most likely be losing money on that transaction. However, if there's multiple pickups along the way, then we may not lose as much. But we didn't look at this as a revenue generator, more of a service that we're offering. And so the fee would offset some of the costs associated with the service, but it probably won't fully pay for the service. And then, like Ed said, we'd like to do this on a temporary basis or a trial basis to see how it works, how the community responds to it, and kind of go from there. Make it, if there's a good response to it, then we'd come back and kind of present how we see it working, and kind of report back. But like I mentioned, there would be some growing pains as far as the billing. I'm getting all of that set up, but I am confident that we can work with utility billing and work through those challenges to get everything set up so it's seamless for the residents.
Commissioner Connolly.
Appreciate the presentation, first of all. I never did hear, I was the one that responded to most of the social media comments and took a lot of heat for it. But never did hear the comment that we ordered the wrong trucks. A lot of people searched online and they could find, well, we can get the multi-pack. And I did the search independent of that and called through the channels, and we got a blanket email that somebody from the city was making calls, and basically the manufacturer confirmed what you said from the original presentation. And that's a good way to go about things, because if somebody goes independent and comes up with the same information that was originally presented, that just reinforces that due diligence was done. And the company, basically, they're holding onto the patent. They're not going to sell it to somebody else. Nobody else can produce the multi-pack. So I asked them multiple times, different ways, the same question, and it came down to the same one. They're not going to produce it, and it's going to be offline for a long time. As far as some of the things in the comments back and forth, there was quite a few people that did not like the second bag option, that had lived in communities that had the second bag option. What I would say is that the survey was good. I love the response. It's probably, I've seen a lot of surveys. It's probably the highest response for surveys out there. But I would say, can we table it until the next meeting to allow the public a little bit of time to digest all of this information so they can have another opportunity to come to our public comment and give us feedback, because we've come out of the gate before on other issues when I was both here and then ones that I was the citizen and things, to where the response was a little bit harder and the conversation took a little bit longer, and we're still kind of adjusting to those things. But it would just give the citizens that extra ability to kind of digest it, and then maybe we get some good feedback. And in the meantime, then you would be able to come up with the itemized list of all those recommendations, like the $50 fee. This packet you just gave us, that portion wasn't in there. So even if somebody looks it up through the agenda, if they miss that part of the commentary or they don't listen to the video, that's going to get missed, and then they're going to ask us, where did that come from? So if we could add that into the itemized list, so when it comes up on 2 weeks from now, the agenda item, everybody, it's being transparent. It's something that everybody could respond to. And I'd just be open to thoughts on that.
I'm perfectly fine with, I mean, I think we have time to table it and give citizens the option to either reach out to myself or to Public Works if they have like further comments, or maybe they didn't fill out the survey but they want to talk about it now. I think that that's fine, and it'll still give us enough time at Public Works to move forward with whatever's decided. As far as the trucks go, I think that what most people were seeing online too were used vehicles, things like that too, not necessarily like brand new ones for sale. And I think Kurt would tell you that we're not going to be purchasing the used multi-pack trucks. But just to the last point of the pickup and potentially not being like a moneymaker, I think that one of the bigger concerns when we started talking about not being able to take extras, not being able to pick up bulky items, is those citizens who they don't have access to a pickup truck, they don't have the ability to go out to the dump, that sort of thing. Just making sure that there's an option for them out there, even if it does have a fee attached to it, so that they still have some version of that service, so they're not waiting for cleanup week all the time if they like have something they need to get rid of but don't have the ability to do it. So I do think it is necessary. I think that we'll have to kind of test it out and see how responsive people are to it. Like you said, Steve, it might be something that gets utilized a lot. It might not, and we'll just have to see how that goes. But I think it is necessary to have it as an option to start. Commissioner Risch.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Conley. We should probably table it till the next meeting and allow Public Works to come up with a definitive list of the charges and things, and we can address it then. And you should still be able to make it work for January 1st, even if we don't approve it till the next meeting. Don't you think, Steve?
I would think so, yeah.
Okay.
And to back that up too, when talking with manufacturer and things, like when you mentioned the used online and things, it's not only the vehicles, they don't really want to make the replacement parts for fixing the vehicle. So that would be a dilemma if you got a used one and all of a sudden you can't get parts. So,
Steve, do you know, is there any other municipality in North Dakota that still takes extras and is still using the multi-packs exclusively?
Madam Chair, the only community that I know of that was taking extras was West Fargo. They had a similar item coming forward. I don't know how they handled that. But of the 13 largest communities, I think we're the last
if not all, majority have already kind of jumped through this hurdle. You know, our neighbors across the river don't collect extras. So I think that it's just kind of, we did it for as long as we can, but they're not producing this truck because a lot of municipalities are not using it. It's the most expensive version of a garbage truck out there. They're finding more effective ways to collect trash. And so I think our hand is being forced a little bit, but I think that we've come up with some good solutions. But happy to table it until the November 12th meeting. And hopefully we can make a decision then with a itemized list of fees, so that we can move forward with whatever we want to move forward with in January.
Okay, we'll do that.
All right. Everybody's good with that? Mayor, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I'm just pleased with the number of respondents to the survey, but certainly to get more information as to what those more specific fees might be for various services, I think is appropriate. So waiting until the 12th is good.
Perfect. And like Steve said, Kaylin and the admin team did a ton of work making sure that lots of eyes were on that survey. It was really great to see that amount of results because it's usually like a fourth of that at best. So 3,000 replies was really great. So, all right. Thanks, Steve. Next up is item M. Consider the request to receive information regarding the expiration of terms and application period for boards, commissions, and committees serving the city of Bismarck. Doug.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and Madam Cleary. I don't know that I've ever said Madam before, so I'm here tonight to take advantage of an opportunity to let the citizens of Bismarck know and citizens in the ETA know that the month of November we'll be accepting applications for the various advisory boards, committees, and commissions that the city has. For this application period, we will have 9 entities that will have vacancies. In your packet, you had a list of them, and I'm going to read them off for those listening and watching on DMA. There will be vacancies on the Animal Advisory Board, the Human Relations Committee, Vision Fund, Forestry Advisory Board, the Renaissance Zone Authority, and as Kate alluded to, the composition of RZA has changed a little bit, but there will be 2 at-large vacancies for the Renaissance Zone Authority, the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Board of Adjustment, the Historic Preservation Commission, the Bismarck Parking Authority, and there will also be one that's not included on this list, one vacancy for the Special Assessment Commission. So this is a great opportunity for citizens who have an interest in your local government to see kind of the details of what we do as an organization, how we actually serve our citizens, and these boards are extremely important for our directors, our staff, and our commissioners as they give recommendations and advice to those that serve them throughout the community. Our communications division, Kaylin, will be reaching out through social media
and through news release, and also our city's website has a lot of information on the various boards that will have openings through the month of November. During December, we will evaluate those applications in the administration department, and our goal is at the beginning of the year for the mayor to have recommendations to the commission of who we would accept. Do you have any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Zinker.
Madam Chair, Doug, so I'll ask this question because a lot of it seems to probably have a little bit more of planning or community development to it. Have you ever thought of maybe combining some of these boards or merging some of them together? Because one, I know with some of these we spend a lot of staff time, so if we had less meetings, it might free them up to do other things. So I just asked, obviously you're putting this out there because we sometimes struggle to fill some of these committees. So have we ever thought of?
I don't know that we have trouble filling the committees. That may be the case in some situations, but in most of the situations, terms are just expired. And so we're just calling for more applications. The ones that are currently serving where their terms expire, unless their specific board or commission has a limit on the number of terms or consecutive terms, then they would be free to reapply. That's just the formal process. And I do believe that most of these advisory boards and commissions are directed through city ordinance. I know that's the case with Forestry Advisory Board, Planning and Zoning, and some of the others.
And then is there a limit as to what one person could serve on? I mean, is there a possibility where a person could be on 6 of these boards? I mean, that's an obvious question, right? I'm pretty Captain Obvious tonight, so I asked it.
I don't know that there's a limit on how many boards, but that would obviously be taken in consideration as we receive applications.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Any other questions for Doug? Commissioner Connolly?
Not so much a question. Appreciate the listing them, Doug, Madam Chair and Commissioners. But I just think back when I got involved with these, I just started sitting in as a citizen and applied. Sometimes you get people get denied and things, but keeping the interest up, a lot of people after decisions are made are saying they're not informed or they don't see the notices in this. But there's a lot of moving parts to a community our size, and do something a little different. Get involved, and I would encourage you to get your feet wet by applying for some of these committees because I'll give you an example. When the water utility rate meetings came up, my background's medical. I never learned so much about soils in this community in my life. Never imagined that I would, but it's spilled into other really good conversations that have benefited the public. And we need participation to go up. In 2017, we have an election right around the corner, voter turnout was nearly double what it was in recent years. And these are some of the ways, as you learn about government and you truly understand the power that you have as an individual citizen, we need more participation so we can come up with better solutions because challenges get difficult.
Thank you, Commissioner Conley. I'm going to steal a little bit of Jason's thunder and maybe give him a segue, but we have had an awesome program the last several years, Bismarck Citizen Academy, and we have Commissioner Risch, who is a graduate, and we have several members in the audience. So I think we'll have a concerted effort to reach out to some of those past graduates in that program to see if there's any interest there as well.
Anything else for Doug? All right, thanks.
Thank you.
And then to segue, you're good. But item N is consider the request to discuss the 2025 Citizen Academy program. Jason, now that he stole your thunder.
He did. It's the last time I share my notes with him. So, Commissioners, tonight is, excuse me, kind of our, I guess it would be our 4th annual shameless plug to promote the Bismarck Citizen Academy. As Doug mentioned, with the advisory board committees and commissions, applications will be opening in November. Same said for season 4 of Citizen Academy. And so for those that aren't familiar with Citizen Academy, those that haven't heard us talk about it before, maybe just a few highlights, if I may. The Citizen Academy, as I mentioned, we've had 3 successful classes that have gone through. The first year was 12 participants. Commissioner Risch was part of that inaugural group. Second year, third year, we upped the size to 20, and we extended the class time from 8 weeks through the first year. The second and third year, we extended those to 12 weeks. It gives us more time to really get in depth with a lot of the departments. The first year, we had some departments kind of share the evening, and it got too condensed. And so we listened to the feedback. We've been surveying the participants each year, trying to better the program, build it in a way that is the best use of their time, because it is also 12 Thursdays in a row, beginning in January. This year, we're starting on Thursday, January 9th. And we are very intentional about the schedule, because each week kind of builds on itself. And the first week we're covering kind of the high-level city commission stuff, city administration, human resources, the legal department, and municipal court. The second week is a big piece of foundational information where we get into really the budgeting, the finance of the city of Bismarck. A lot of people want to know, where are my taxes going? What are they covering? Which departments are they supporting? So week 2, we really delve into that. And then from there, we're much more mobile. We're visiting a number of different city departments, different city buildings, facilities, and that seems to be really the magic for a lot of the participants, is seeing not just the facilities and the equipment, but also it's really a chance to meet some of the staff. And for us, it's an opportunity for our staff to really show off a little bit. And what I've learned in the last 3 years of this is we have some very wonderful people that are very passionate about the work that they do, and that comes out in full force when you start to see them talk about the work they do and share some of those experiences or the equipment or the buildings that they're part of. And I think for the participants, that is maybe one of the unexpected outcomes, is really getting to know some of these people week to week, and just seeing them really be in their element and talk about the work that they do. One of the other things that I've noticed that have resulted from these Citizen Academy classes is there have been friendships and camaraderies built amongst the participants, not just with the staff, but I've seen friendships occur. I've seen people getting together afterwards. I've had participants tell us, as soon as I get home, I run through the slide deck with my spouse, because their spouse wants to learn, what did you just do tonight? What did you see? What were you a part of? And so as you were earlier discussing, getting people interested in this, I was leaving myself a note to email all the past participants and remind them, if they have friends or family or other parties that are interested, to let them know that starting November 1st, we will have the application period open. So that's really the purpose tonight, was to talk about it, again, shine a light on it, of course, ask any questions if you have. We don't really have any action other than if you're comfortable with the schedule. The departments, the staff, the directors here have looked at it. Everything seems to fit the way we've got it dialed in for now. I should mention, we have, in the last 2 sessions, we've added a bonus week where we found ourselves at the wastewater treatment plant. There was a high level of interest from some of the participants, and so we made it an optional week. We've also kicked around the potential to maybe head out to the landfill one of these days, rather than just, heading to wastewater. So the program continues to grow. The program continues to be tweaked. But I think each year the experience is better. Not to say that you missed out on anything, Commissioner Risch, with Season 1. You're getting a full-depth immersion here in all things city business right now, so that's great. But to the point of, if you're looking to better understand the organization, if you're looking to build some confidence to apply for one of these advisory boards, this is a great first step. This is a great way to get engaged, to better understand, to be a part of a group of people that, quite frankly, will get to see and do things that not everyone has that opportunity to do. And so with that in mind, I do need to note, we continue to talk about how do we make this program available to more people. We have staff that are very interested in learning what other departments are doing, and just know that we continue to have those conversations. With this year being a legislative assembly year, we're a little hesitant to run 2 courses through the group. Doug will be immersed in this from day one and looking in the future. it's likely that this little project will get handed off and it'll be his thing to carry forward. And so you'll see more changes coming in the years to come. So if you have any questions, if I forgot something that you feel I should have mentioned, we can certainly try and answer those questions, but happy to try and help.
Commissioner Connolly.
Not so much a question, but there's actually 3 from your last class that have been pretty consistent. One, Commissioner Risch, like you said, has been obligated, but there was 2 participants at the last one that have been at pretty much every commission meeting week in and week out. So it does stir up the interest, and the involvement's kind of refreshing.
Just want to add too, I know at least in the past 2 years, the list of people who want to be in Citizens Academy is bigger than the amount of people we're allowed to accommodate. So if you applied in past years and you weren't able to be a part of it, certainly apply again, because I know that list was kind of overflowing last year. So anyone who didn't get in last year, hopefully we can try to get them in this year, because it definitely seems to hold a lot of value for the people that get to do it. I got a crash course when I was campaigning, because I was Dimitri's practice round for Citizens Academy, so that was fun. And then I have been able to attend Public Works nights and a couple other nights, and it's great to see what they take from it. So I appreciate it, Jason. It's a lot of work.
And to your point, Madam Chair, we would certainly encourage any of the commissioners to attend on the weeks that you have a department that's being highlighted. But also, I should note, we do prioritize City of Bismarck residents over other applicants, because this is obviously a very city-centric program, and we feel that our residents should have the first opportunity to take those limited seats.
That seems only fair. Anything else for Jason? All right, we're good. Item O, consider the request to accept the resignation of City Attorney Janelle Combs and provide direction for recruiting to fill the vacant City Attorney position. Jason, I think Leanne is on Teams.
Correct.
So however you guys want to handle it.
Madam Chair, I guess I will start. Leanne is a little under the weather, but willing to lend us her expertise for questions. But included in your packet, you found a job description and, the resignation letter, and then a potential schedule outlining the steps that need to happen between, first even accepting the resignation and then directing staff to move forward with a process. For those that are listening, for those that may not recall, the city attorney's position is one of the current 3 appointed positions, meaning it is a contract position. It does not have civil service protection. It is unique in that category. It does not resemble most of the other positions within the city organization. With that in mind, the job description was also included at your workstations this evening for your review as well. And so if you have questions, obviously Leanne is available. One thing I should note, in addition to accepting the resignation, there is also a North Dakota Century Code requirement that requires cities to appoint an individual to the city attorney position. This would be in an acting or an interim status after December 5th, when Attorney Combs' last day is in office. No need to act on that tonight. You'll have more information at the first meeting in November. But also, essentially, we're looking for an acceptance of the resignation and then a direction to staff based on the proposed recruiting plan that HR Director Leanne Schmidt attached to the item on the agenda. I'm happy to try and answer any questions. I'm sure Leanne is as well.
Commissioners, any questions for Jason or Leanne?
No questions from me. I do know that I did have conversation with Leanne as she was developing the recruiting plan and making sure that a job description was ready to go with that recruitment plan. Timeline, I think we have to be realistic, is not going to happen overnight. This is a position that is going to need some high level of scrutiny for those involved in hiring. Plus, there's there's a need to make sure we have a group of people do that first scoring, so to speak, of the qualifications of the candidate, which recommendation would be that we use probably a set of people who are qualified legal experts, so to speak. So several attorneys from the community probably will need to be identified.
Commissioner Zenker.
Madam Chair, and I would recommend that we have multiple levels of interviews with that too, not just scoring of their data or information, but I'm sure there's, the mayor alluded to a group of attorneys, and I think that's a great idea. And if that group of attorneys could provide some type of interview too before it gets to, I'm assuming we're going to do it as a commission, the final.
Yeah, Commissioner Zenker, that would be my expectation as well. And whether or not we can have others do some preliminary interviews, I mean, that'd be great if that could happen, because I think that helps us with the selection process. But I don't know what the requirements for that are for open meetings and so on.
Well, that would be internal. I wouldn't think that would be a commissioner, well, unless you could do it because you're the portfolio holder, Mayor, I suppose you could be part of that. But I would think that would be internal from Leanne's department as to, for us to give direction to add another layer of interviews to the process. Right, Jason, or am I wrong?
Commissioner Zenker, if I'm understanding you, that those interviews would be conducted by others that are not elected to the city commission. That would be part of that peer group of professionals?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. And then would you anticipate a recommendation or some type of a score coming from those interviews?
It would be not a recommendation, more of a score.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I mean, I think it's maybe both. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Commissioners Zenker, they may narrow the field down from, I don't know, 7 to 3 or 4 or something.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yep, thank you, Mayor. That's right. Yep.
And Commissioners, if I may add, just looking back to the process that I went through to get to this position, there was a step that was identified as an accomplishment survey. In many ways, it was an essay. It was a response to 6 or 7 different categories where I had to identify projects or things that I was part of. In some ways, it became a writing sample for a committee to evaluate, but it was also used, as the mayor noted, as a tool to help screen that initial group down to a smaller, manageable number that would ultimately interview with the 5 of you. And so, Commissioner, to your point, there could be, and certainly want to hear from HR Director Schmidt on this one, but there could be an adaptation to that step in the process where it is not just a writing survey, but maybe it's an example of a legal brief that an attorney would have drafted, and then some type of an interview or an evaluation or even a report to a committee that could then score that and compile it with part of a bigger package of information.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, yeah, Jason, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Yep, something daily task type thing. The other thing I would think of is anytime we have a position like this, what should we do the same and what should we change? Right? There's always some adaptations. I'm going to steal your word, thanks, that we can use to go forward. If you don't look at the way you're doing things, then you're not going to change either. So what can we evolve and what can we make it better? So.
Well, Commissioner, thank you for the segue. There has been some internal discussions about realizing there will be a gap in time when we don't have Attorney Combs on staff and we don't have a replacement for her. Thinking about that, looking at the 2 assistant city attorneys that we have on staff, a great deal of their time is spent in municipal court. And one of the things that may help us through that transitional period between Ms. Combs and the next person would be to free up some of the in-house staff time to be more internal customer service and not so much focusing on the prosecution side of municipal court. Essentially what I'm saying here is maybe a consideration for the commission would be to look at contracting part-time temporary prosecuting attorneys to help with municipal court to free up internal staff to be more responsive to some of those staff needs. The other thing we may need to consider is essentially looking for contract employees that can help us in certain areas. Attorney Combs has been very supportive when it comes to employment law, contract law, just general legal negotiating. I don't know that I don't know that our existing staff maybe has that experience or even the time to get into all of those things. And so we may need to find a way to augment some of the time spent in municipal court to give our internal staff time, more time to be accessed by directors and staff.
So Jason, that was actually going to be one of the things that I asked about. Maybe we can add it to the first meeting in November if we're going to be discussing appointing an acting city attorney, that maybe we also discuss what the options would be as far as providing some extra coverage with external contract with a firm or firms in town. Is like, I think especially for like the prosecution assistants, so that our staff can deal with the internal stuff, because I think that that's a lot of what Janelle deals with, and so I feel like it's going to absorb a lot of their time, and we don't want that to fall aside because they're prosecuting. If there's some balance to be had there, if we could just kind of gather more information as to what that looks like for the next meeting. Commissioner Zenker?
Madam Chair, I would suggest that we don't make it for the next meeting, even though we got an extra week between this. We have till the end of November.
Sure.
So I wouldn't put pressure on staff to come up with something
So
in the next 21
second
days.
Meeting.
Just if it works out and it can be the next meeting, but for sure by the last meeting in November. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things there, a lot of moving parts. It's getting to be that time. People are waiting for that first snow, so let's just give them a little breathing room and let them work to the end of November.
Yeah, no, that absolutely seems fair.
Sorry.
And yeah, and we just have to have acting appointed by December, so.
And we can do that at that last
Yeah,
meeting.
exactly. So neither of them have to happen at the first meeting.
So with that, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of City Attorney Combs.
Second.
We have a motion
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zenker?
Yes.
Chair Cleary?
Yes. That's our last item.
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure we have consensus that what Leanne has started to put together for recruitment and so forth is appropriate. Obviously, there could be some adjustments still as we move forward and find out what might be best practices when we utilize, this team of professionals that can evaluate skill sets. But I think we need to at least get started on recruitment.
I think so.
Later.
I think we had consensus on moving forward with that. If anyone has anything specific they want to add to what Leanne's already doing.
Yeah, I would just say there's no reason to wait.
Yeah, and I think too, like, obviously, time is of the essence. The quicker it can be, the better. But at the same time, with holidays and wanting to make sure that we don't rush it and get a smaller pool of people, I think we want to do it the right way. So I think we can lean on Leanne for that timeline too, in my opinion. But I think we have consensus with that, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I just couldn't read the room. Sorry.
Absolutely, no problem. Is there any other business? Commissioner Connolly?
Two things. I spoke to the Housing Association this week and stuff, and I mentioned the Land Development Code and input, and just be on the lookout for any opportunities from the community or other entities so we can get as much input, hopefully more than we got for landfill on the Land Development Code. It's a very big section of our ordinances, so it'd be nice to get a lot of feedback. The other thing is that at our last meeting in relation to the addressing homeless needs in the community, I've been talking, just want to make everybody aware, so it's more of a FYI. I've been talking to a lot of stakeholders in that about a no-cost option to get us through this winter. And some of the discussions are we have the land just east of the landfill to where it's open. Could we possibly get winter safe, like tents that are easily removable, and through volunteers provide a low barrier shelter to where even if a person's inebriated or influenced or anything, the volunteers would be there to allow them a place to have a night where they're safe and out of the elements. And I'll just continue to have those discussions, but wanted to make you aware that that might be part of it, or if somebody has an idea or a different location may come up or those type of things. And just any parts of those conversation that can lead us to the answer to where there's no expectation from the taxpayer. This would just be community coming together and taking care of some of our needs.
I applaud you for having the conversations, and by all means continue to have them, but just with the thought of that particular piece of property, I immediately would have concerns of security and safety. It's not a heavily policed area. Also, if we're relying on volunteers for accommodations, food, transportation, it's very far out of the way as far as where their services are at. I think that with the encampment ordinance, that there's going to be a need. We obviously mentioned at the meeting, and it's been said over and over again, that it's one of many steps that needs to happen to provide a safe environment for all of our citizens. I would love for that to not come at a tax burden. I think there's lots of conversations happening, continue to have them. I don't know how good fit that piece of land would be in my immediate thought. It doesn't obviously hurt to have discussions as long as we're not taking things in weird directions that are soaking up staff time and not getting anywhere. But it doesn't hurt to have the conversations. So I guess.
Well, out of staff time and things, the only person I reached out to is City Attorney Combs, and she suggested bringing it up during other business. But to make it not a tax expectation, it is the members of the community, and both communities actually, to where filling in that need, because if it's truly community-based, then there should be no need for staff services.
Sure. Any other business? All right. With that, we are adjourned until the next regular commission meeting on November 12th.